messy area that we're working in, right? I don't. So bioart means many things to many people. So actually, a lot of bioart, or I would even say even more in the field of biodesign, is quite affirmative in a way, or affirmative to the use of technology as it's used nowadays. That seems to have only one course, the one that you mentioned is like dominated by these big algorithm-driven companies, and also, I don't know, industry and technology that actually uses a lot of computational simulation in order to get results. Unfortunately, the results are not the thing that has enough diversity, and so the results, the goals are very monotonous, and I think that's sort of the problem when it comes to this technology, that it's not really open. Actually, it's clearly inaccessible. Even if you consider this biohacking that is supposed to invite everybody to the table, what it's really doing is it's informing the public, I think, as to what is going on, but it's nowhere near having this impact because companies are really investing like billions of dollars or euros to develop stuff, to trademark it, and then sort of push that because their bottom line is what matters. The revenue is what matters, right? And so, but you raise an important question: is like, can you dismantle the master's castle using the master's tools? And I don't know. I don't think that it's easy. I think that whatever we do, we run the risk of affirming the status quo rather than critiquing it, which was precisely what happened. And just like this month, it's still ongoing. I'm part of an exhibition in Pompidou. I don't know if you know Pompidou, but it's this high-end art institution in Paris. It's the pinnacle of my career to date, And they, for the first time, do an exhibition on biodesign and bioart. But actually, my participation there is a bit of an accident because they don't understand any. They took all the works, they completely flattened them, they misunderstand them, and just take them for the surface value. So it's shiny, it's pretty, and it looks like it's complicated, and it affirms the human technological domination over everything else. And when we had talks and we had symposiums to try to unpack this, to make it more complicated, I was amazed at how impossible it was to have a conversation with them, right? So in a way, you could say, okay, it's art appropriation, and that does happen, but you can also make it difficult for that to happen, right? So then we're talking about using different aesthetic strategies, or maybe using humor, using over-identification, using subversion, and all that. I think it's also about trial and error, because you have to sort of walk the line where it's believable enough for people that it doesn't get dismissed as a joke. Because that's also, like just recently on April 1st, Dutch Google published a commercial, like a little YouTube video that shows how they are developing an app called Google Tulip. You can watch it later. So Google Tulip, you can't, maybe you can't. But anyway, VPN, I don't know, whatever. So Google Tulip shows how Google has been working with this plant science university, and they're developing an application so you can finally talk to tulips, etc. And it's kind of funny, and they have this like, now we can finally hear what the tulips are saying, and then everybody's just running around. I need more water. I need more sun. Spray me and stuff, and then the tulip asks, what is the meaning of life? And the guy touches the tulip and says, don't worry. And it's really bizarre, but actually if you watch this a couple of times, it's shocking because they're revealing, just substitute the tulip for a human being, and that's what Google's doing. That's precisely what Google is doing. It's measuring, it's taking all this data exhaust, finding patterns, and seeing what correlates to what, and selling it to whoever wants to manipulate it, use this, right? So you are basically the tulip. And the fact that they are using this as a promotional strategy, my God, they're neutralizing, in my opinion, any possible contestation, any possible critique. Because you see them, they're kidding about this, and you're like, okay, surely they must know, so they are acting ethically or acting responsibly, because this is dark, and they're joking about how dark this is, so it's fine, we can trust them. And it's kind of extremely challenging to work in this field while you constantly are haunted by the incredible power that science and technology has, right? And subversion is so extremely difficult. But then I also think that it's important to try, even if we might fail, and then to learn from mistakes, etc. Because the other option, and some artists are already doing this, is to construct alternatives, right? And so for some people, the alternatives are enough because they've come to this realization already that alternatives are needed, like alternate subjectivity. However, there is a whole, I would say almost a majority of people that don't have the life experience that would lead them to sort of, they don't necessarily have the interest or have a good life or whatever. Anyway, it's impossible to talk to them, to reach them by showing this alternative, because the alternative will be dismissed. So as my training is in this hegemony of science and technology, I'm trying to put that to this use, right? To be able to, okay, I understand how your mind works, and I will try to play with this so that you can follow me and maybe reach some other point of view. Yeah.
Thank you for your answer. Do you think right now bioart is in a good place? Like the field you are in is in a good place, or because sometimes I've thought about this before. I sort of wished enlightenment have never happened, because the whole idea of rational thinking that pushed us into the technology industrial age, it sort of it definitely eliminated part of humanity that's like, yeah, I think it eliminated something there, but I haven't really thought about give it a deep thought. But so yeah, I'm just curious if you think the field you're working in right now is in a good place, or if it's not, what do you hope that should be improved in the future, in the near future?
I am already exploring the next stage of human existence, which will be the vegetarian.
Nice.
But to also maybe be a bit, inject a bit of optimism. It's been, like the whole digital age is quite young, and it's based. So algorithms and computation is based on math, right? And math is supposed to be logical and rational. But if you ask a mathematician, they might also say that math is actually the most irrational thing you can imagine, because the axioms are agreements, right? So you can make a math that works for a parallel universe that follows completely different laws, right? And it still works within it as a system. So if we were to look at maths and algorithms as also potential allies in constructing a whole different system of values, that perhaps that is a way out of what the Enlightenment kind of talked. But, because we can't go back. And then there's like, okay, maybe there's catastrophe, but maybe there's also something that is not the transhumanist singularity, but rather sort of a diversification of the different logics behind, or the different, I would say, irrationality behind how computation is used. Because ultimately, it's not about the truth or about reality, but about like the consequences of having one or a different worldview, right? I mean, that has a huge influence, and that's sort of the ultimate impact of Enlightenment, right? It all kind of made us very monocultural in terms of how we view everything. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Eric.
Do we have more? Iga, we have a question. Zoe, I have a. Do you want to ask something? You need time. Okay, no, okay. So good. Okay, Spella, yes. Volume. We got the volume. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Speak slowly.
Speak slowly. Okay. You're not the only person around here who says that to me. Yeah. One thing for me. So I just want to say that Spella is your question was really good, Percy, because she's uniquely positioned to answer that question. You have kind of two caricatures of bioartists in the you have sort of the science. I had this researcher teacher who would sculpt cells, out of stone, and he's like, and then I talk about Emily Carr, which is the local art school, and be like, but they don't feel, they're cut in your brains, So you'd be like, just doing, I don't know, like paintings or they play music and then so scientists no art background, and then you get artists who are just like absolutely dyed in the wool, like just whatever, any freaking linguistic idea. I think your biosemiotic thing was good. I mean, they're really coming from an art perspective, and they partner with a lab maybe, and they're like, oh, it's a cool new medium, Spella has a PhD in scientific, in bio research, and has been doing this media art thing, for a while, and as you can see, to the point where the Pompidou is misrepresenting her work, like it's a pretty awesome misrepresentation, right? Not to say that they don't suck, but yeah.
They totally suck.
Yeah, they suck. Let's admit it, they suck, But so it's really good, to be able to field this question here, because she really does have a foot in each camp, And my one comment I want to make is along these lines. So when I was doing, my scientific kind of side was doing a lot of work in environmental health and in immunology, pathology, a bunch of different things, And when I was like, open science, and there's so much garbage in the institution, and we need to be thinking about doing it other ways, and I'm doing this media art thing, and I'm like, okay, more and more I'm thinking, how can I combine these? Pretty much all open science was the first part of what I was talking about was genetics, and it was genetic engineering, and it was all these things. And there was, in human physiology, there's a real limit to this. There's a real limit to the use, Every science that I was doing was, working on a tissue level or on a cellular level or on other paradigmatic levels. Genes are there, but like my example with the immune system, you want to look at the immune system from the point of view of vaccines and of sort of priming and specificity within what it addresses. Okay, it's very, very elegant, you know. You want to look at it in terms of the genes that it activates. When it's doing that, like motherfucker, it's like crazy, like it's just not effective. It's not a good paradigm to use, right? Not to say that there aren't other other times when that would work, right? But I was like, it was amazing to me. I could really smell the tech background of all these open biologists when they were just looking at this one segment, you know. Now, admittedly, that's a part you can technologize and you can do tech-like things, right? But if you really want to look at what physiology does, it's just, yeah, it's really, really taking a small segment, you know. Now, in your work, I see this over and over again. I feel you grappling with this, and this is, I think, the big thing I appreciate, is you're always dealing with, you're working on a cellular level, on a level of the protein that's getting expressed through the molecule, the hormone, you're dealing with the messy stuff, absolutely. The difficulty, I think, in doing that, as opposed to making a glowing bunny, just to take a random example. I think it gets amplified, doesn't it? But I mean, yeah, that I guess that's part of comment, but also I guess maybe a sort of comment that you could reflect on is for you that sort of important, having your biomedical background and also saying, well, in some sense we have to do justice to that if we're going to be bridging this boundary. And maybe secondly, what you think about, I mean, there's a bit of a difficulty there as well, right? When you're working with the human cell line, like what a freaking miracle. How did you maintain, like it's so hard within a lab to maintain a good human cell line, you know, like within a performance space. I mean, I just feel like the technical challenges might be higher as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Correct.
I mean, yeah, we can talk about the technical challenges a lot. I mean, there are certain things that you can do, and then certain things that you're absolutely limited by in terms of the financial investment you can make into a project, in terms of how much you can actually do DIY style. And then it also has to do then with what you are showing and how much you're faking it, you know. And I think a lot of times, a lot of artists kind of reach that limit, and then they sort of say, okay, I've invested so much time, I know it's not as impressive as I want it to be, so I'll say that I did, but it didn't really work. So, but that's also because it's different to work with material, living material, and the fight for also what it does, how it happens, how it works, and rather than try to retain an illusion of that you made your idea come to fruition, that you actually go with all the reality of it. Which means, okay, it doesn't fucking work, you know, you have bacterial or fungal infections, and so that's why my projects aren't really that high tech. If you think about it, it's precisely because I don't have, neither is it like my aim to work with high tech stuff, nor is it feasible really. So these cells I got, you know, they came sort of in a vial. They were grown in the lab, and I got them to perform this microperformance. We built a CO2 incubator with the fancy. We built some contraptions with pumps, and you know, so there's these engineering challenges, and as well, like I think it was quite was an extreme challenge to get these incubators of the phytopathology for the function monsters working. Right, this is a huge challenge because you have a lens on top, and it has to not have the condensation, and it has to stay cool. You have to be able to sterilize it. All that stuff. And I think it's just fun to work with that, to make those things happen, right? But it also takes so much time, right? And then this is where your critique potentially comes in. I mean, I sort of heard like below that, you know, like why does it look like this? You're talking about one thing, but it all looks like a scientific instrument. Like, how are you not seeing that what you're doing is completely affirming? Yes, I know. I realize it, and that's why I'm doing. Sorry?
No, yeah, you go on. No, I don't know if I was thinking that, but go on.
But I mean, I am also working on other projects. So last year, actually, I made a performative. It was like a fabulous expedition. That was. It was a lot of things, and it's something that actually I think is a good project, really, because it takes all the insights I've gotten through working with these particular tools, how tools are important, how actually it's very difficult to capture the tensions between the different points of view, etc. And I made them in this fictitious expedition that takes place in a world, in the real world, but we are going there through the eyes of an archetype. I love this project, but where can I show it? I brand it as a fucking bio artist. If I don't work with technology, nobody really wants to show it. It's not, I'm not really pursuing my interests. I don't have the possibility to do so. We're all in the machine. So it's kind of like the next thing. I'm doing AI because I had an idea of what I wanted to do something else. And the gallery said, well, we're not really interested in that idea. We think it's bad, but, try to see if you can think of something that we would be interested in. And they got this huge grant. It's on the European level. Everybody's giving money to research on AI. And here I am working on AI. And I'm going to make the most of it, So that's how we are all caught in this. And there's a certain level of responsibility that I can take, and I take it for continuing to collect knowledge, to critically examine it, and to experiment with new things within my lived experience with history, right, that I had, because science and technology, that way of thinking is kind of burned into my brain, right? So that's one thing I'm constantly dealing with. On the other hand, I am precarious. So I don't take all the responsibility for that. But I'm still, trying to, like I said, make the most of it, be subversive, learn from other people that are doing it, and I think that the fact that I'm trying should be good enough.
It's more than it's more than good enough. No, it's and my the technical side. I mean, you bring up really good points, regardless. But technical side for me was more an appreciation, seeing the science background. Just in like what really are you representing with bio? And I feel like you bring so much of that I don't always see. Now that's not to say that we don't have this this technical fetish, or God, I'm going to go to Isaiah in Korea, and to me it's just half of the works are just this like what the fuck kind of technical fetish. And also just what you're saying with I have the exact same issue from another angle in terms of that, like what is your label, how are you branded as an artist, and once that brand starts working, sorry, that's it's like you can go for these lesser brands, or but yeah. So I want to open it up here though to Zoe, to to Iga. Do you guys want to get a question in? You have anything you want to ask? Iga, smiling. Yes? Okay, so let's see if we could. You want come here. Come sit. Okay, so you're gonna meet Iga. She's awesome. She's building a freaking bridge out of like clothing. She's like my favorite.
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, great talk. And my question is about the artwork you did. And I'm wondering, when you are doing an art project, are you controlling the process, or before doing this, you have some outline of the outcome, or I'm just very curious about your process of producing this bio art, because you are working with living materials and they are very hard to control. So when you did some project, you just do you have some control or imagination before you diving into this project, or you just like scientific research and find a clue and to explore the possibilities you've never imagined? Did I make
Yeah.
it clear? Yeah.
So, first off, I don't think I would say I work with living material, because I work with living beings, kind of, you know, and that's where the sort of agency comes from. It really often depends on the project. However, precisely because we are caught in this cycle where we need to apply for project funding and we get the project money, and then I sort of start developing it. So it's kind of you come up with an idea, or I sort of throw the stone in a sort of a direction that I want to pursue, and then if I get the money, I start really working, right? So the idea often changes, and I would say that a small percentage of what I think would be a good thing to do actually ends up what I do. So it's never a process of ideation and then putting it into materiality. But it's just this kind of like mess, and a lot of make it work moments, a lot of deadlines that then shape the project in unexpected ways. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it actually works out for the best. I mean, the fact that most often it's about making it work in regards to the time, like schedule, right? The exhibition is opening. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Okay, this is, and then you have like a plan A, the ideal, B, C, D, E, and then there is like this, okay, what do we have and what can we make of it? And sort of that's where a lot of the artwork comes from. It's like, okay, this is what we have, so what can we do, right? So it's sort of a recomposition. And like I said, it's kind of